Good morning, boys. It's February 2nd now, and just wanted to talk a little bit about the manna from our passage today from Exodus. And been thinking a little bit the last few days about Jesus calling himself the bread of life as well, and we talked about that, I think. Um, and the manna that comes down every day, and they've got to store it up for that day, and that it can only be for that day. And on the Sabbath day, they need to collect for 2 days, and there won't be any available to collect on the Sabbath day. And I think it's a really good reminder for us. Jesus also said, give us this day our daily bread. And he also said that grace is sufficient only for the day, that we don't have grace for tomorrow or for next week or for, a year from now, but we get the grace that we have for today, which there's significance in both of those things in a number of ways. First of all, we have to be completely dependent on God for what we get for each and every single day. And sometimes it's difficult in our culture, in our country, to remember that we are absolutely dependent because things are readily available on shelves in the stores most of the time, and we don't really have to think about, do I have enough food to get through today or tomorrow or this week or this month? We can go and stock up if we choose to do that. And so we often tend to think that our dependence is on ourselves then because it's up to us to provide that food. But what this man was teaching those in the wilderness was that each and every day they need to be dependent on the Lord, and that each and every day he would be faithful to meet their needs. So they could see his hand at work. They could know that it was him who was sustaining them. They could see that pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire, and all of those things should be enough to help us to stay on track, but often they're not. We can see even in the Israelites that they were grumbling and complaining, that oftentimes it even says that there were people who were going out to collect manna when they shouldn't be, or leaving it too long and letting it go bad. And that's what we tend to do. We tend to take our eyes off of God's provision for us and put them back on ourselves. And we need to be reminded that we are absolutely dependent on the Lord for our next breath, for our next meal, and that actually comes from His hand. And that takes some pressure off of us too. We aren't the ones who have to or get to provide for ourselves. And so we should have some humility in that. Of course, we do need to work hard. We do need to be responsible for ourselves, for our families. But ultimately, anything that we have in terms of provision comes only from the Lord. So we need to keep our minds and our memories centered on that too. So I think it's a good reminder when we read about the manna to think about that. All right, that's enough for today. We'll see you tomorrow.